Hello, and welcome to English in Fluency. I'm your host, Alex. Have you ever found yourself lying awake at night, your mind racing like a hamster on a wheel? You think about a small mistake you made during the day, and suddenly, that small mistake grows into a giant monster. You replay the conversation over and over again. You think about what you should have said, what you could have done differently. Or maybe you are thinking about the future. You have a big event coming up, like an interview or an exam, and your mind starts creating 1,000 different negative scenarios. You imagine everything that could possibly go wrong, and you feel a knot of anxiety tighten in your stomach. This feeling, this endless loop of thoughts, has a name. It's called overthinking. It's when your mind gets stuck, unable to move forward, constantly dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. It feels exhausting, doesn't it? It's like trying to run a marathon in your head, and you never reach the finish line. If this sounds familiar, I want you to know that you are not alone. So many of us struggle with this, but today, we are going to change that. In this special practice session, we are going to learn how to calm our busy minds. We will explore simple, powerful techniques to stop the cycle of overthinking and find a sense of peace and clarity. And the best part? We will do it all while practicing our English. We will learn new vocabulary, improve our listening skills, and build confidence together. So take a deep breath, find a comfortable place to sit, and let's begin our journey to a clearer mind. To truly understand how to stop overthinking, we must first understand what it is. Overthinking is not the same as deep thinking or problem solving. When you are problem solving, your thoughts are productive. They move forward towards a solution. You think about a challenge, you brainstorm ideas, and you decide on a course of action. But when you are overthinking, your thoughts are unproductive. They don't move forward. They move in circles. Imagine a car stuck in the mud. The wheels are spinning and spinning, using a lot of energy, but the car isn't going anywhere. That's what overthinking is like for your brain. It's a lot of mental activity without any progress. Let me tell you a story about a young man named Leo. Leo was invited to his best friend's birthday party. It was a simple, casual event. But for Leo, the simple question of what to wear became a huge problem. He opened his closet and looked at his clothes. He pulled out a blue shirt. This blue shirt is nice, he thought. But what if it's too formal? Maybe everyone will be wearing t-shirts. I'll look like I'm trying too hard. So he put the blue shirt back. He then picked up a casual t-shirt. Okay, this is more relaxed, he thought to himself. But is it too relaxed? What if my friend's parents are there? They might think I'm disrespectful for not dressing up a little. Maybe I should wear something else. He spent the next hour like this. He tried on 5 different outfits. With each one, his mind created a new worry. These pants make me look strange. This color is not right for a party. I wore this shirt the last time I saw these friends. They will think I have no other clothes. His thoughts began to spiral. It wasn't about the clothes anymore. It was about what other people would think of him. He started to imagine people at the party whispering about his choice of clothes. He imagined them judging him. The party was supposed to start at 7 p.m. It was now 7:30 p.m. And Leo was still standing in his room, surrounded by piles of clothes, feeling more anxious and stressed than ever. In the end, he felt so overwhelmed and exhausted from his own thoughts that he sent his friend a text message. "Sorry, I'm not feeling well. I can't make it tonight." He missed a wonderful party with his friends, not because of any real problem, but because his mind was stuck in a loop of what-ifs. This is a perfect example of overthinking. A simple decision became an impossible task because his mind kept creating problems that didn't exist. Overthinking generally comes in two main forms. The first form is called ruminating. Ruminating is when you constantly think about the past. The word ruminate actually comes from the way cows eat. They chew their food, swallow it, and then bring it back up to chew it again. When we ruminate with our thoughts, we are doing something similar. We are replaying past events, conversations, and mistakes over and over in our minds. We are chewing on old problems without ever digesting them or letting them go. Let's think about a woman named Clara. Clara works in an office, and last week she gave a presentation to her team. During the presentation, she stumbled on a few words. It was a very small mistake, and most people probably didn't even notice. But for Clara, this small mistake became a huge failure in her mind. For the entire week, she has been ruminating about it. When she's trying to work, her mind whispers, "You sounded so stupid. Everyone must think you are incompetent." When she's trying to eat dinner, the memory of her stumbling over the words comes back. She loses her appetite. When she's trying to fall asleep at night, she replays the moment of her mistake again and again, each time feeling a fresh wave of embarrassment and shame. She isn't learning from the mistake or thinking about how to improve her next presentation. She is just reliving the negative feeling associated with it. This is ruminating. It keeps you trapped in the past and prevents you from enjoying the present moment. The second form of overthinking is worrying. While ruminating is focused on the past, worrying is focused on the future. It's the constant stream of negative thoughts about what might happen. It's living in a state of what if. What if I fail the exam? What if I lose my job? What if my family gets sick? These thoughts are often about things that are outside of our control. Worriers often imagine the worst-case scenario for every situation. Let's consider the story of a student named Sam. Sam has a final exam in 2 weeks. He has been studying hard, and he generally does well in school. But Sam is a worrier. His mind is constantly filled with anxious thoughts about the exam. He thinks, "What if I forget everything I studied on the day of the exam? What if the questions are too difficult? What if I fail? If I fail, I won't get into a good university. If I don't get into a good university, I won't find a good job. My whole life will be ruined." Do you see how his thoughts escalate? A single concern about an exam spirals into a catastrophic vision of his entire future. This kind of thinking is not productive. It doesn't help him study better. In fact, it does the opposite. The constant anxiety makes it hard for him to concentrate. His sleep is poor because he lies awake worrying. He feels tired and stressed all the time. Sam is not solving a problem. He is creating a state of fear about a future that hasn't happened yet and may never happen. So, we have ruminating, which is being stuck in the past, and worrying, which is being stuck in fear of the future. Both of these are forms of overthinking, and they both steal our peace and our ability to live happily in the present. As we continue, remember these two words: ruminating and worrying. Recognizing which one you are doing is the first step toward breaking the cycle. Now that we understand what overthinking is, it's helpful to ask, Why do we do it? Why do our minds get caught in these painful loops? There isn't one single answer, as it can be different for everyone, but there are some common reasons. One of the biggest reasons is anxiety and a fear of the unknown. Our brains are designed to keep us safe. They are constantly scanning our environment for potential threats or problems. This was very useful for our ancient ancestors who had to watch out for dangerous animals. But in our modern world, this problem-scanning part of our brain can become overactive. When we face an uncertain situation, like Sam and his exam, our brain can interpret that uncertainty as a danger. It tries to gain control by thinking through every possible negative outcome. It thinks that if it can imagine the worst, it can prepare for it. The problem is, it just creates a lot of fear and stress about things that haven't even happened. It's like our brain's alarm system is too sensitive. It rings the alarm bell not just for real dangers, but for every small uncertainty in our lives. Another very common cause of overthinking is perfectionism. Perfectionists have very high standards for themselves. They believe that they must do everything perfectly, and they are terrified of making mistakes. This fear of failure can lead to overthinking in many ways. Remember Clara, the woman who kept replaying the small mistake in her presentation? Her overthinking was driven by perfectionism. In her mind, a small stumble was not just a small mistake. It was evidence that she was not good enough. A perfectionist might overthink a decision for hours, like Leo with his clothes, because they are afraid of making the wrong choice. They believe there is one perfect choice, and any other choice would be a failure. They might also spend hours checking and rechecking their work, constantly looking for tiny errors, unable to ever feel that their work is finished or good enough. This constant pressure to be perfect is exhausting, and it's a powerful engine for the spinning wheels of overthinking. The desire to be perfect prevents them from taking action and moving forward. Our past experiences also play a significant role in why we overthink. If you have experienced difficult or traumatic events in the past, your brain might be more alert to potential dangers. It might have learned to overanalyze situations to try to prevent bad things from happening again. For example, if someone was criticized a lot as a child, they might grow up to be an adult who overthinks every social interaction. They might constantly worry about what others think of them, always searching for signs of disapproval, because their past experiences taught them that judgment can be painful. Their overthinking is a protective strategy, a way to try to avoid getting hurt again. It's important to be gentle with ourselves when we realize this. Our brain is not trying to hurt us. It's trying to protect us based on the lessons it has learned from the past. The challenge is to teach our brain new, healthier ways to feel safe in the present. Understanding these root causes, anxiety, perfectionism, and past experiences, can help us have more compassion for ourselves. We are not overthinking because we are weak or broken. We are overthinking because our brain is trying to handle difficult emotions and situations in the only way it knows how. Our goal now is to learn some new tools to help our brain feel safe and calm. The constant cycle of overthinking doesn't just make us feel bad. It has real, negative effects on our lives and our health. When our mind is constantly spinning with worries and regrets, it takes a toll on our mental well-being. One of the most immediate effects is, of course, increased stress and anxiety. Overthinking puts our body into a constant state of high alert, as if we are always facing a threat. This leads to chronic stress, which can make us feel irritable, overwhelmed, and emotionally exhausted. It's like leaving the engine of a car running all day and all night. Eventually, it's going to run out of fuel and start to break down. Another significant mental effect is something called decision paralysis. This is exactly what happened to Leo. He had so many thoughts and worries about a simple decision, what to wear, that he became completely paralyzed. He couldn't make any choice at all. When we overthink, we analyze every option from every possible angle, imagining all the potential negative outcomes. This overload of information and fear can make it feel impossible to move forward. We get stuck, unable to make even small decisions, which can affect our work, our relationships, and our daily lives. Perhaps one of the saddest effects of overthinking is that it robs us of our ability to enjoy the present moment. Life is happening right now, in this very second. But if your mind is stuck in the past, ruminating about a mistake like Clara, or stuck in the future, worrying about an exam like Sam, you are not here. You are not present. You could be having a beautiful dinner with your family, but if you are overthinking a problem at work, you aren't really tasting the food or hearing the conversation. You are physically present, but your mind is somewhere else entirely. Overthinking is like watching a movie of your life instead of actually living it. It creates a barrier between you and your own experiences, preventing you from feeling joy, connection, and peace in the here and now. The beautiful sunset, the laughter of a child, the warmth of a cup of tea. These simple pleasures are lost when our mind is too busy to notice them. The negative impact of overthinking isn't limited to our minds. It can also affect our physical health. The mind and body are deeply connected. When your mind is under chronic stress from overthinking, your body feels it too. One of the most common physical symptoms is difficulty sleeping. How can you sleep when your mind is replaying events or rehearsing future worries? Many overthinkers find themselves lying awake for hours, which leads to fatigue and low energy during the day. This lack of sleep can then make the overthinking even worse, creating a vicious cycle. Constant stress can also lead to other physical problems like frequent headaches, muscle tension in the neck and shoulders, and even digestive issues. It weakens our immune system, making us more likely to get sick. It's clear that overthinking is not just a harmless habit. It's a pattern that can seriously damage our overall well-being, both mentally and physically. It can also harm our relationships with other people. An overthinking mind can misinterpret the words and actions of others. Let me give you a quick example. Imagine a woman named Maria sends her husband, Ben, a text message. "Can we talk tonight?" Ben simply replies, "K." Maria starts to overthink. Just K? Why was his reply so short? Is he angry at me? What did I do wrong? He must be upset. Our relationship is in trouble. She spends the entire day in a state of anxiety, imagining a huge fight. When Ben gets home, Maria is already defensive and upset. Ben is confused. For him, K was just a quick reply because he was busy at work. But Maria's overthinking created a conflict out of nothing. This shows how our internal thought loops can create real problems in the world around us. Recognizing these negative effects is a powerful motivation to start making a change. So, we now understand what overthinking is, why we do it, and the negative ways it affects our lives. The most important part of our journey today begins now. We are going to explore practical, simple strategies that you can use to break the cycle of overthinking and bring peace to your mind. This is not about magically stopping all your thoughts. That's impossible. Our brains are made to think. This is about changing your relationship with your thoughts. It's about learning to be the calm director of your mind instead of being a passive audience member to its chaotic show. The first and most fundamental strategy is awareness. You cannot change a habit if you do not know you are doing it. So, the very first step is to simply notice when you are caught in an overthinking loop. What are the signs? You might notice that your thoughts are racing and repetitive. You might feel a sense of pressure or tension in your head or your body. You might find yourself replaying the same scene or conversation over and over again. You might be staring into space, lost in a world of what-ifs. When you notice these signs, the goal is not to judge yourself or to force the thoughts to stop. The goal is simply to acknowledge what is happening. You can create a little bit of mental space by just naming it. You can say to yourself, silently in your mind, "Ah, there's that overthinking again," or "I am ruminating right now," or "My mind is worrying about the future." This simple act of labeling the thought pattern does something amazing. It separates you from the thought. You are no longer lost inside the storm of thinking. You are the observer who is noticing the storm. This creates a small gap, and in that gap, you have the power to choose a different response. So, let's practice this. I want you to pause for a moment. Think about the last time you were overthinking. Can you remember what it felt like in your mind and in your body? Just remember it, without any judgment. Now, imagine yourself in that moment and just say, "I am thinking a lot right now." That's it. That is the first step. It is the simple, gentle act of becoming aware. Once you have become aware that you are overthinking, one of the most powerful things you can do is to bring your attention back to the present moment. Overthinking almost always lives in the past or the future. The present moment is its enemy. When you are fully present, it is very difficult to ruminate or worry. A wonderful and easy technique for this is called grounding. Grounding means connecting your awareness to the physical world around you through your 5 senses. A very popular method for this is the 5-4-3-2-1 technique. It's simple, you can do it anywhere, and it works very quickly to interrupt the cycle of overthinking. Let's try it together right now. I will guide you through it. Wherever you are, just take a gentle breath. Now, let's begin. First, I want you to look around you and silently name 5 things that you can see. It could be a lamp, a book on the table, a crack in the wall, the color of the carpet, a tree outside your window. Take your time. Silently name 5 things you can see. Good. Now, let's engage your sense of touch. I want you to notice 4 things that you can feel. It might be the feeling of your clothes against your skin, the firmness of the chair beneath you, the cool surface of the table under your hand, or the gentle breeze from a fan. Notice 4 things you can physically feel. Excellent. Next, let's move to your sense of hearing. Listen carefully and identify 3 things that you can hear. It could be the sound of my voice, the hum of a computer, birds chirping outside, or the distant sound of traffic. What are 3 distinct sounds you can hear right now? Very good. Now, we'll use our sense of smell. Notice two things that you can smell. This one can sometimes be tricky. Maybe you can smell the coffee you made earlier, the scent of soap on your hands, or just the simple smell of the air in the room. Find two scents. Wonderful. And finally, let's use our sense of taste. Bring your awareness to your mouth and notice one thing that you can taste. It might be the lingering taste of your last meal or drink, or simply the natural taste of your own mouth. What is one thing you can taste? You have just completed the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding exercise. How do you feel? You probably noticed that for those few moments, it was impossible to overthink. Your mind was too busy noticing the sights, sounds, and sensations of the present moment. This is a powerful tool. The next time you feel your thoughts starting to spiral, you can use this technique to anchor yourself back in the here and now. Another incredibly effective way to bring yourself into the present moment is to focus on your breath. Your breath is always with you, and it's a powerful anchor to the present. You can't breathe in the past, and you can't breathe in the future. You can only breathe right now. This practice is often called mindful breathing. It's very simple. Let's try a short mindful breathing exercise together. Find a comfortable position, sitting or lying down. You can gently close your eyes if that feels comfortable for you. Now, simply bring your attention to the sensation of your breath. Don't try to change it or control it in any way. Just notice it. Notice the feeling of the air entering your nostrils. Notice how it feels cool as it comes in. Follow the breath as it travels down into your lungs. Notice the gentle rise of your chest and your belly as you inhale. And then, notice the gentle fall of your chest and belly as you exhale. Notice the feeling of the air leaving your body, perhaps feeling a little warmer as it leaves. Just stay with this sensation for a few moments. Your mind will naturally wander. It will start thinking about other things. That is completely normal. That's what minds do. When you notice your mind has wandered, gently and without judgment, just guide your attention back to your breath. Each time you bring your mind back, it is like training a muscle. You are strengthening your ability to choose where you place your focus. Let's practice together for a few controlled breaths. I want you to inhale slowly through your nose to the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now hold your breath for just a moment. And now exhale slowly through your mouth to the count of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's do that again. Inhale slowly through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it gently and exhale slowly through your mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One last time. Breathe in and breathe out. Now, just let your breath return to its natural rhythm. You can open your eyes when you are ready. Even just a minute of focused breathing can have a profound effect on your state of mind. It calms your nervous system and creates a pause in the endless stream of thoughts. This is a practice you can do anytime, anywhere. When you're stuck in traffic, waiting in line, or feeling overwhelmed at your desk. Your breath is your portable tool for finding peace. Sometimes, bringing ourselves to the present isn't enough. The worrisome thoughts can be very loud and persistent. In these cases, another powerful strategy is to actively challenge your thoughts. A key insight from cognitive psychology is that our thoughts are not facts. Let me repeat that, because it is very important. Your thoughts are not facts. They are just mental events, like clouds passing in the sky. And just because you have a thought, it doesn't mean it's true. Overthinking is often fueled by thoughts that are distorted, exaggerated, or simply untrue. We can learn to become detectives of our own minds, examining our thoughts and questioning their validity. Let's go back to our student Sam, who was worrying about his exam. His main thought was, "I am going to fail this exam and my life will be ruined." This is a very big, scary thought. But is it true? We can help Sam challenge this thought by asking some simple questions. The first question is, what is the evidence for this thought? Sam might say, "Well, the exam is hard." Okay, that's one piece of evidence. But what is the evidence against this thought? Sam might think, "Well, I have been studying for weeks. I have passed all my other exams this year. I understand most of the topics." Suddenly, the original thought, "I am going to fail," doesn't seem so certain. The next question we can ask is, what is a different way to look at this situation? Instead of, "I'm going to fail," a more balanced thought might be, "The exam will be challenging, but I am prepared. I will do my best, and that is all I can do." This thought feels much less stressful, and it is also more realistic. Another helpful question is, what is the worst-case scenario, and could I handle it? So, the worst case is that Sam fails the exam. Would his life truly be ruined? Probably not. He might have to retake the class or find a different path. It would be disappointing, but it would not be the end of his life. Realizing that you can handle the worst-case scenario takes away a lot of its power. Now, it's your turn to practice. Think of a worry that you have had recently, a thought that keeps repeating in your mind. Take a piece of paper and write that thought down. Now, become a detective. Ask yourself these questions about your thought. What is the evidence that this thought is true? What is the evidence that it is not true? Is there a more positive or realistic way of seeing this situation? What would I say to a friend if they had this same thought? By questioning your thoughts, you are not pretending that problems don't exist. You are simply refusing to accept your first negative thought as the absolute truth. You are taking back your power and looking for a more balanced perspective. Another very practical technique, especially for people who worry a lot, is to create a designated worry time. This might sound strange at first. Why would I want to schedule a time to worry? But the logic behind it is quite clever. If you are constantly worrying throughout the day, your worries are controlling you. They pop up whenever they want, interrupting your work, your conversations, and your peace. By setting a specific time to worry, you are taking back control. Here is how it works. You choose a specific time and duration every day. For example, 15 minutes at 5 p.m. And you designate this as your official worry time. During this time, you have full permission to worry about anything and everything. You can sit down with a notebook and write down all your worries. You can think about them deeply. But here is the crucial part. If a worry comes into your mind at any other time of the day, you must postpone it. You acknowledge the worry and say to yourself, "That's an interesting worry. I will think about that later during my scheduled worry time." Then you write it down on a piece of paper and gently return your focus to what you were doing. Let's imagine a busy mother named Anna. Anna worries constantly. She worries about her children at school. She worries about finances. She worries about her elderly parents. Her mind is always busy. She decides to try the worry time technique. She sets her worry time for 4:30 p.m., right before she starts making dinner. In the morning, while she's working, a thought pops into her head. What if my son gets hurt on the playground today? Instead of letting that thought spiral, she stops. She takes a small notepad and writes, "Worry about son at playground." Then she says to herself, "I will deal with this at 4:30. And she gets back to her work. What do you think happens when 4:30 p.m. arrives? Anna sits down with her list of worries. She looks at the first one. By now, her son is home safely from school. The worry is no longer relevant. She crosses it off the list. She looks at another worry. Now that she has given it her full attention, she realizes she can actually do something about it. She can make a phone call to solve the problem. She turns a worry into an action step. She might find that for some of the other worries, after thinking about them for a few minutes, they don't seem as big or as scary as they did when they were just floating around in her head. This technique works because it contains your worrying. It stops it from leaking into every part of your day. It also teaches your brain that you are in control of when you give attention to these thoughts. I encourage you to try this. Choose a 15-minute slot in your day for 1 week. See what happens. It can be a very liberating experience. Overthinking is a very mental activity. It happens entirely inside your head. One of the quickest and most effective ways to get out of your head is to get into your body. Moving your body changes your physiology, which in turn can change your mental state. When you are physically active, your brain releases endorphins, which are natural chemicals that improve your mood and act as natural painkillers. Exercise also helps to reduce stress hormones like cortisol. You don't need to run a marathon to get these benefits. Any form of physical movement can help to interrupt the cycle of overthinking. Let's go back to Leo, the young man who was paralyzed by the decision of what to wear. In our first story, he stayed in his room and let his thoughts consume him. But let's imagine a different ending. Leo is standing in his room, feeling the anxiety build. He notices the familiar feeling of his thoughts starting to spin faster and faster. But this time, instead of continuing to try on clothes, he recognizes the pattern. He says to himself, "I'm overthinking. I need a break." He puts on his running shoes and goes outside for a short run. As he starts to run, he focuses on the feeling of his feet hitting the pavement. He pays attention to his breathing. He notices the trees and the houses he passes. He is not trying to solve his problem. He is just focusing on the physical act of running. After 20 minutes, he comes back home. He is a little out of breath, and his body feels energized. His mind feels clearer. The intense anxiety he was feeling before is gone. He walks to his closet, quickly grabs the blue shirt and a pair of jeans, and thinks, "This is fine." The problem that seemed so huge and complicated just a short while ago now seems simple. The physical activity broke the cycle of his thoughts and allowed him to see the situation with a fresh, calmer perspective. So, the next time you find yourself stuck in your head, I invite you to move your body. It could be anything. You could go for a brisk walk. You could put on your favorite song and dance around your living room for 5 minutes. You could do some simple stretches. You could even do a household chore, like vacuuming the floor with energy and focus. The key is to shift your focus from the world inside your head to the world of physical sensation. Change your physical state to change your mental state. Let's try a tiny version right now. Wherever you are, just stand up. Reach your arms high up to the ceiling and stretch. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, let your arms float back down. Shake out your hands and your feet. How does that small movement feel? It's a simple reminder that you have a body, and it can be your greatest ally in the fight against overthinking. There is a very important difference between unproductive worrying and productive problem-solving. Overthinking often feels like you are trying to solve a problem, but, as we discussed, you are usually just spinning your wheels. The thoughts are vague, repetitive, and focused on the negative. Productive problem-solving, on the other hand, is focused, structured, and action-oriented. Learning to tell the difference and shift from one to the other is a crucial skill. Let's use Clara as our example. She was ruminating about her presentation mistake, replaying it over and over. That is unproductive dwelling. Let's help her shift to productive problem-solving using a simple 4-step process. Step 1 is to clearly define the problem. Clara's vague worry is, I am a terrible public speaker and everyone thinks I'm incompetent. That's not a problem that can be solved. It's a painful self-judgment. A clearly defined problem would be, I made a small mistake in my presentation and I am concerned about how my boss perceived it. This is specific and manageable. Step 2 is to brainstorm possible solutions. At this stage, you should write down any and all ideas, without judging them. Clara might brainstorm: 1. Do nothing and hope no one noticed. 2. Apologize to my boss. 3. Send an email to the team with the corrected information. 4. Practice more for my next presentation. 5. Ask a trusted colleague for feedback. Step 3 is to choose one small, concrete step that you can take right now. Looking at her list, Clara decides that the best first step would be to address the issue directly but simply. She chooses a combination of options 2 and 3. She decides the first small step is to draft a brief professional email to her boss. Step 4 is to take that step. Clara sits down and writes the email. Dear boss, I just realized I misstated a figure during yesterday's presentation. The correct number is X. I apologize for any confusion this may have caused. I have already sent a corrected slide to the team. After she sends the email, a huge weight is lifted from her shoulders. She has taken control of the situation. She has moved from being a passive victim of her own thoughts to being an active problem solver. This process can be applied to almost any worry. If you are worried about your finances, the problem is not, I'm going to be poor. The problem is, I need to create a budget. The first step is not to panic, but to get a piece of paper and write down your monthly income and expenses. This shifts your energy from fear to action. So, here is your practice prompt. Think of something you are overthinking right now. Take out a piece of paper. At the top, write down the problem in a clear, specific sentence. Then, brainstorm at least 3 possible actions you could take. Finally, circle the smallest, easiest action you can take in the next 24 hours. And then, do it. A great deal of overthinking is driven by a harsh inner critic. We make a mistake, and a voice in our head says, "You're so stupid." We face a challenge, and the voice says, "You're going to fail." We would never talk to a friend this way. If your friend came to you and said they made a mistake at work, you wouldn't say, "You're incompetent." You would probably say something like, "It's okay. Everyone makes mistakes. It's not a big deal. What can you do to fix it?" You would offer them kindness, support, and encouragement. Self-compassion is the practice of turning that same kindness and support inward, toward yourself. It means treating yourself with the same care and understanding that you would offer to a good friend. This is not about making excuses or avoiding responsibility. It's about recognizing that being human means being imperfect. We all make mistakes, and we all have difficult times. Being hard on yourself doesn't help you do better. It just adds a layer of suffering and shame, which often fuels more overthinking. Let's think about Clara again. She's ruminating about her presentation mistake, and her inner critic is being very loud and cruel. Let's help her practice self-compassion. The first step is to acknowledge her own suffering. She could say to herself, "This feels really bad. I feel embarrassed and ashamed." Just naming the emotion is an act of kindness. The second step is to remember that this is part of the common human experience. She could think, "Everyone makes mistakes when they are giving presentations. It's a normal part of learning and growing. I am not the only person in the world who has ever felt this way." This helps her feel less isolated in her pain. The third step is to offer herself some words of kindness. She can imagine what her kindest friend would say to her right now. That friend might say, "You worked so hard on that presentation. It was 99% great. Don't let one tiny mistake overshadow all your hard work. Be kind to yourself." Clara can then try to say these words to herself. She could even put a hand on her heart as she says them, which can have a surprisingly powerful, calming effect. Practicing self-compassion can feel strange at first, especially if you are used to being your own worst critic. But with practice, it can fundamentally change your inner world. It quiets the voice of the overthinking critic and replaces it with a voice of warmth, support, and resilience. Here is a simple practice for you. The next time you notice you are being hard on yourself, pause. Ask yourself, "What would I say to a friend in this exact situation?" Then, try to offer those same compassionate words to yourself. You deserve the same kindness you so freely give to others. Finally, sometimes the best strategy for overthinking is a simple and enjoyable one: distraction. Now, this is not about avoiding your problems forever, but when your mind is stuck in a negative and unproductive loop, trying to think your way out of it can be like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. In these moments, intentionally shifting your focus to something else that is engaging and pleasant can be the most effective way to break the cycle. This gives your mind a much-needed rest from the worry or rumination. The key is to choose an activity that requires your attention. Passively watching television might not be enough, as your mind can still wander. You want to choose something that actively engages your brain. For example, you could read a chapter of a really interesting book. You have to focus on the words and the story, which leaves less mental space for overthinking. You could listen to a podcast or an audiobook, especially on a topic you are curious about. Or you could try learning something new. Perhaps you could spend 20 minutes practicing a new language, like you are doing right now by listening to this. Learning requires concentration and focus. Hobbies are fantastic for this. If you enjoy cooking or baking, follow a new recipe. The process of measuring ingredients and following steps can be very mindful and absorbing. Remember Maria, who was overthinking Ben's short text message? Instead of spending the day in anxiety, imagine she decided to distract herself by making her favorite chocolate cake. She had to focus on getting the measurements right, mixing the batter, and watching the oven. For that hour, her mind was completely absorbed in the task. By the time the cake was done and the delicious smell filled her kitchen, her perspective had shifted. The worry about the text message seemed much smaller and less important. When Ben came home, she was calm and happy, and they had a normal conversation where she learned he was just busy. An engaging distraction gave her the mental break she needed to avoid creating an unnecessary conflict. What are some healthy distractions that you enjoy? Make a list of 5 or 6 activities that you can turn to the next time you feel your mind starting to spin. It could be gardening, playing a musical instrument, doing a puzzle, calling a friend to talk about something completely different, or going for a walk and focusing on nature. Having this list ready means you have a toolkit of options to choose from when overthinking strikes. We have covered a lot of ground together today. We've explored the tricky landscape of the overthinking mind, and, most importantly, we have gathered a collection of powerful tools to help us find our way back to a place of calm and clarity. Let's briefly review these strategies, these keys to a quieter mind. First, we learned the power of awareness, the simple act of noticing and naming our overthinking without judgment. Second, we practiced grounding ourselves in the present moment, using our 5 senses and our breath, anchoring ourselves in the now, which is the only place where peace can be found. Third, we discovered how to become detectives of our own minds, challenging our negative thoughts and questioning their truth instead of blindly accepting them. Fourth, we talked about the practical technique of scheduling a worry time to contain our anxieties and take back control of our day. Fifth, we explored the profound connection between our mind and body, and how getting up and moving can be one of the fastest ways to get out of our heads. Sixth, we learned the crucial difference between unproductive dwelling and productive problem-solving, turning vague fears into concrete, actionable steps. Seventh, we touched upon the gentle and healing practice of self-compassion, learning to treat ourselves with the same kindness we would offer a dear friend. And finally, we remembered the simple joy of healthy distraction, using engaging activities to give our busy minds a well-deserved break. I want you to remember that stopping overthinking is not a destination you arrive at one day and then you are cured forever. It is a practice. It is a skill that you cultivate over time with patience and consistency. There will be days when it is easy to catch your thoughts and find your center. And there will be days when the mental storm feels overwhelming, and that is okay. On those days, be extra kind to yourself. The goal is not perfection. The goal is progress. You don't have to master all of these strategies at once. That would be overwhelming in itself. My suggestion to you is to choose just one. Which one of these strategies felt most interesting or accessible to you today? Maybe it was the 5-4-3-2-1 ground-in technique. Or perhaps the idea of scheduling a worry time seems like something you could try. Whatever it is, choose just one and commit to practicing it for the next week. Notice what happens. See how it feels. Learning to manage your thoughts is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. It frees up so much mental and emotional energy, allowing you to focus on what truly matters. Living your life with more joy, presence, and peace. And as you practice these techniques, you are also strengthening your English skills. You are learning new vocabulary, you are training your ear, and you are building the confidence to understand and use the language in a meaningful way. Thank you so much for joining me, Alex, here on English in Fluency. It has been a pleasure to share this practice with you today. I truly hope that it has been helpful for your mind and for your English. Remember to be patient with yourself on this journey. Every small step you take towards a clearer mind is a victory. If you found this session valuable, please show your support by liking this video and subscribing to our channel. It helps us create more content like this for English learners around the world. And now, for your final English practice of the day, I would love to hear from you. Please go to the comment section below and tell us in English. Which one of these strategies will you try first this week? I am genuinely interested to read your answers and to support you on your path. Sharing your intention can be a powerful way to stay committed. Thank you again for your time and your attention. Until our next practice together, take care and be kind to your mind.